What's up, everybody? It's your boy Ryan, and thanks so much for being with me. Remember, every shredded information we put out on this channel is brought to you by a couple products. We got some specials on products, so I'm just going to lay that stuff out for you. Number one, the Cortex stack. Look, it's a powerful pre-made stack. If you want a stack that induces verbal fluency, focus, mental energy, motivation to do work through its work on dopamine and acetylcholine, get the Cortex stack. 31 bucks at the website right now. The discount is you can use the coupon code 5, F-I-V-E, and get a bottle for 26 bucks. Or you can get 2 bottles for 24 each if you buy the Cortex double stack, which you can find at livecortex.com. Look, if you need my help in formulating stacks for you with a 40-minute call where we figure out how you're responding to nootropics, kind of figure out which nootropics will be best for you, and then have me formulate 5 to 7 stacks for you, and then work with you via email to refine them, we have a service for that, which does exactly that. It's called the Nootropics Consulting Service, and you can get that at livecortex.com. Coupon code for that right now, for those of you that want to try it and have been wanting to talk with me, but the price point's a little high, use the coupon code 50, and it takes it down to 50 bucks from 75. That's actually super substantial right now. Do that at livecortex.com. If you don't want to talk to me at all, and you just want to take your nootropics game to the next level, understanding how to stack compounds to induce certain states on cue, as well as just everything that encompasses my 12 years of nootropic experience, get the Nootropics Masterclass. It's a video course that teaches you how to do that. If you need a coupon code on that, email me, ryan@livecortex.com. I will give you one. Last thing, if you're a dude and need to optimize your testosterone, which is one of the most important things you should be focusing on if you're a man above the age of 25, get the Viking Testosterone Protocol. We will raise your numbers, and everything associated with testosterone you'll get. If you want to do that too, email me, ryan@livecortex.com, and I'll give you a coupon code for it. If you're really interested in doing that, I support you in that, and I'll save you substantial money over the regular price. Okay, so welcome to another Nootropics 20. Thanks so much for being with me. Hope everyone had a great weekend. I totally did. Chilling with my girl, hanging with my cats. She's got cats, I got cats. And it was really fun. Hope everyone had a super cool Valentine's Day, too. I did. You know, the funniest thing about Valentine's Day is we went to a bowling lane in Bold, and in the bar, there's a bar in the bowling lane. It was literally all single dudes in there drinking on Valentine's Day. Funny stuff. All right, so first question comes in from a Cortex user. Hey Ryan, really love the Cortex stack. Have a question on nicotine. Can it be used as a nootropic? I've heard Dave Asprey talk about 1 milligram sublingual under the tongue, or dosing nicotine 1 milligram quantity. Yes, it can. So I guess he's sort of saying, because we've talked about this before, and I think the mechanisms are pretty much out there, and people kind of talk about it a lot. But yeah, the final verdict on it is it's binding to nicotinic cholinergic receptors. And what I think a lot of people don't know about nicotine is it is almost mimicking acetylcholine. That's why people get a positive effect from it. At 1 milligrams of nicotine, I don't think that the effect in terms of like cholinergic transmission is going to be super substantial, which is good. And that's also why people can take like nicotine in some sort of other administration method than smoking and not run into side effects, because the effect isn't that substantial. It's just sort of subtle, which is really, really great. So that's the answer there. It is a nootropic essentially, because it's mimicking acetylcholine by binding to those cholinergic receptor sites. Number 2 was it was a study that was on the nootropic subreddit on capsaicin, which is one of the main ingredients in like really, really hot peppers, particularly the hottest pepper in the world, which is the Carolina Reaper pepper. That is a very hot pepper. And the study says that capsaicin helps Alzheimer's related changes in the hippocampus, specifically of diabetes rats that have type 2 diabetes. Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. What it's doing, by the way, is it's modulating insulin sensitivity in the brain. And researchers believe that Alzheimer's is a form of diabetes of the brain. And so that makes sense, for folks interested in getting capsaicin. Any hot chili pepper that has capsaicin would be the strategy. I think a lot of people take like eat hot peppers and sort of wonder like, why is this like, why does my brain feel good? Like, why do I feel good? And why do I perhaps perform a little better? And that's probably it. So if you're interested in that, you know, maybe make some Carolina Reaper sauce, or better yet, so that you're not actually eating the whole pepper. Eating a Carolina Reaper pepper, I've never done it before, but I watched my brother do it, is painful. Very, very painful, and will certainly put you in a debilitated state for quite some time. I've eaten Carolina Reaper sauce, so my brother, who's a hot pepper extraordinaire guy, made a Carolina Reaper sauce and put it on wings, and it was hot as shit. But it gave me, in the acute phase, like a really interesting euphoric kind of buzz where I was sort of like, felt like I was lifting back and forth. It was really, really weird, but really, really cool. And at the time, I kind of had acute positive brain performance benefits too. It's just like, I felt good. I was like, wow, this is like really cool. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of things that modulate what would be Alzheimer's, or people that have Alzheimer's and stuff, and capsaicin is one of them. Next question comes through on Nootropic subreddit. Why does choline have the opposite effect on me? You know, than typical people. Usually it's just because you took too much of it. You know, I mean, that's really what I would say. The question was posed, am I, by taking kind of a choline precursor, creating a state in which my brain is shutting down regular cholinergic activity? And I would say sort of, yeah. I mean, if you go over on that level, there's probably a cascade of other neurotransmitter-based stuff that happens, which could be causing the issue. But also, yeah, I do think there's there's always a regulatory homeostatic function in the brain when too much of something is present. And so that's what I would say is happening there. I mean, we address that kind of all the time, but I figured I would answer that question here. Next point or question, number one adrenal fatigue hack. Number one adrenal fatigue hack. Wow. Number one hack. There's a lot. I mean, for adrenal fatigue, it's like, you know, look, you got to get your body producing mineral corticoids, regulating sodium and water balance, producing cortisol correctly. And, you know, there's a lot. You have to take vitamin C 3-4 grams a day, B complex every day, sometimes twice a day. Too much water, in fact, makes you urinate a lot because you don't have a lot of aldosterone or antidiuretic hormone. I know what it would be. The number one hack would be forskolin. Taking forskolin in 125 to like 250 milligrams, because forskolin induces the production of antidiuretic hormone, which is going to prevent you from urinating your salt out, which is the primary cause of the fatigue in adrenal hormone insufficiency. There's actually a study that demonstrated that there were antidiuretic hormone antagonists that were delivered or administered to a person or people in this study, and they did not affect forskolin's capacity to increase antidiuretic hormone. They couldn't even touch it. So forskolin is very, very powerful in that regard. Also very powerful for, you know, an acute ATP/energy production. That's kind of the basis of the CILTEP stack. That's what I would say. Number one adrenal hack is 125 to 250 milligrams of forskolin, specifically for sodium and water balance. Let's see, favorite or best alcohol and why? I guess that person's asking me what my favorite or best alcohol would be. I mean, I like red wine. Yeah, it would either be moderate consumption of red wine. I like Malbecs because you can really never find a bad tasting Malbec. It's an Argentinian wine, and it is always very crisp and light, and with the right amount of tannins and the right amount of spice to it. So wine would be, I guess, number one, and again, modest quantities. The trouble with wine is that, well, with alcohol, I mean, you're really just talking about a GABA agonist, so it is making you want more alcohol. Alcohol makes you want more alcohol, and alcohol also subsequently puts you in a state that only alcohol, seemingly for people that don't know other options, can fix, which is a vicious cycle. That's essentially where alcoholism and excessive alcohol intake comes into play. Additionally, so what that ends up being is a very calorically dense sitting of drinking red wine, which is why you have to moderate it. Second would be clear liquor, vodka or tequila. I mean, my personal favorite is tequila. I like tequila. It just like doesn't mess with my stomach, makes me feel good, actually gives me a lot of energy. is antibacterial, antiviral. You know, next time you have a cold or something coming on, go take a couple shots of tequila, go lay down for a little bit, wake up, drink some water, take it easy, do the same thing the next day, and more than likely, in a lot of people's cases, that cold won't fully come on. Alcar and Huperzine A together, is this a good idea? Pretty right to the point. Well, I think, yeah, I mean, I'm sure I've tried it, I just don't remember. I think it would be fine to take Alcar and Huperzine A together. You have to be a little careful on the doses. I mean, you should really never dose Huperzine A above 200 micrograms, and for most folks, just to start, like 40 to 80 micrograms is going to be best. Alcar is doing a little bit of a extra acetylcholine production, but not via being a precursor, just via enzymatic processes. Coenzyme A gets donated to the acetylcholine production process. So if you do it, I would dose it moderately. I mean, just like kind of we always suggest, something like 80 micrograms Huperzine A and like 100 to 200 milligrams of Alcar. But I don't think that would be a particular issue. And if you respond good to Huperzine A and Alcar, you'd get a good effect. It would just be something you wouldn't want to take daily. Definitely just like 2 times a week max. Okay, natural stack serotonin stack made me super tired. Any idea why? Well, I'm pretty sure natural stacks, serotonin stacks, has a lot of 5-HTP or tryptophan in it, and that's why it happened. I mean, you would think that would just create more serotonin and make you happier or something. But in people with any degree of serotonergic impairment, adding more serotonin to the mix usually just doesn't help, and mechanistically it's very, very complex, but it has to do with 5-HT1A autoreceptors. And so that's why, I mean, that's why, you know, in this case, if you have impaired serotonin, you'd want to have an antagonist for the 1A autoreceptor to make you feel good and have subsequent surges and sort of serotonin-like brain function, which is like really good mood and being happy about life and all that stuff. Thinking of long-term Noopept and phenylpiracetam, anyone have any experiences with that? It seems to be variable across different people. Most people cannot take those compounds long-term because you run into cholinergic overload. You start taxing receptors, they start engaging in this homeostatic regulatory thing, and then the compound either affects you negatively or doesn't affect you at all. You just build up like a super tolerance to it. But then though, there are people who, with their pre-workout or something, take phenylpiracetam at a couple hundred milligrams 4 or 5 times a week, and it never loses the effect. I mean, maybe something in their pre-workout is somehow counteracting what modifications that chemical would make on cholinergic receptors in a way that, you know, keeps them sensitized or something, and so that they don't run into any of those issues, and it's kind of like just an acute effect, sort of like modafinil, which really doesn't fuss with receptors all that much in a permanent way. So that's what I would say on that. Those two you really want to cycle if you're most people, and that's what I would say about that. Let's see. Piracetam plus a Noopept gave me ED, that is erection dysfunction, for 3 days. Why? Oh, man. The only thing I can say about that is, look, antagonists of serotonin receptors usually equals increased acetylcholine. And so it could be happening the other way around here, where you've got increased acetylcholine, and that's causing some sort of antagonism on serotonin function. You know, I mean, that's what I would say. And if in the short term that causes lower serotonin, because it does in the short term. In the long term, antagonizing serotonin, I believe, causes more serotonin thereafter, after a certain period of having lowered serotonin. Then, yeah, you could just be running into like libido issues, signal libido issues, which are dopamine mediated, but also heavily serotonin mediated. So that's probably what I think is happening, some sort of impairment in serotonin signaling, which is very, very, very hugely involved in sexual arousal and erection function for men. That's what I would say about that. Next question, photobiomodulation on the brain. Okay, photobiomodulation is just red light therapy or infrared therapy on any part of your body. Is it good for the brain? So, well, we know it's increasing ATP and enhancing mitochondrial function when you, just sort of in general, wherever you shine it. Most experience that I have with it is shining it on testicles for testosterone production, and that does work. Also for fertility. Seems to be, I would wager that definitely it's effective also for improving egg quality in women, so shining it on the uterus and improving the egg's age. But on the brain, I think we do the same thing, right? So you're talking about optimizing mitochondria, increasing LTP. That's always great, right? Making more energy is always good. However, administration methods are a little too primitive right now for red light therapy on the brain. We can do shine the light on your head. Like, I've done that before, and this is why I say this. I didn't really get any acute effects or anything. I didn't do it long enough because it actually gave me an ice pick headache. Like, just in, I think it was right here and kind of front right part of my brain. I just felt a very, very marked discomfort. And so that was telling me the administration method is wrong. I just was shining the light too close or something, or I don't know. Maybe you're looking at lower nanometer quantity than 660 to 850, which is kind of typical range for most infrared red lights. And so that's what I would say about that. I think it has a lot of hope, and there's more than likely a great benefit to it. We just have to evolve scientifically and technologically on how to administer red light therapy for the brain, which is photobiomodulation. This is a good question, and I hope that the person that sent this email to me is watching. His name is Matt. We've consulted Matt on, I think, gut stuff. He's been saying he's been getting a pretty good experience from DMAA and sort of wanting an alternative. Well, DMAA is structurally pretty similar to adrenaline. It also can cause false positives for amphetamines on drug tests, so you gotta watch out for that. But what I would say is, look, you've got something pretty structurally similar to adrenaline. So what you want to do to mimic those effects is increase adrenaline, and that's epinephrine. And the way that you would do that is either L-tyrosine or phenylalanine. Alternatively, yohimbine. That's what I would say about that. But you got to dose those things super carefully. Find your dose that works the best, and then go from there. But those are essentially the alternatives, in my view. Hey Ryan, I really love modafinil. It's working really great for me. I take 200 milligrams at 9 a.m. in the morning. My question is, can I drink a couple beers later on, say 6 or 7 p.m.? Well, look, no sort of contraindications or no serious side effects have been reported with people consuming modafinil during the day and then sort of later on having a couple beers or a glass of wine or whatever. So that's what I would say first. Secondly, though, in terms of my advice, I really wouldn't do that. It's fine. Like, you're going to be fine. I wouldn't take it past 3 or 4 drinks and kind of just stop there. Don't drink a whole lot if you're going to be taking modafinil. It's just, you're talking about heavy stuff here. Heavy GABA agonist, and then, modafinil, which does all kind of things to orexin neurons and serotonin and GABA, and dopamine too. So, that's kind of what I would say about that. And then looking at mechanisms, like just know that bringing in the alcohol is going to change the effect of the modafinil to an extent. Now you're bringing in kind of synthetic GABA to the mix, which is going to bind to GABA receptors and make you feel good, and and there's a little bit of GABAergic functioning with modafinil. So it's like, I don't know, but anecdotally it's fine. Just don't drink a whole lot is what I would say. Next question. First step supplement wise, if you've got chronic fatigue syndrome. Okay, the first step would not be supplements. The first step would be a very critical scientific process to determine exactly what the cause of your fatigue syndrome is. Fatigue syndrome or chronic, any kind of chronic fatigue is like a catch-all phrase for any number of different disorders, ranging from SIBO, like bad gut bacteria that are releasing lipopolysaccharides, which are endotoxins, and they end up crossing the blood-brain barrier, and they actually go in your brain. There's studies that show that. To toxic overload from just some sort of toxicant in the environment, to Epstein-Barr virus accumulating in mitochondria of cells, like there's so many different causes, to hypothyroidism, to adrenal hormone insufficiency, right? So those are kind of the primary causes of chronic fatigue syndromes. So the first step is identifying which one of those things are causing your fatigue and then addressing it from there. And the best way to do that is, well, I mean, if you had mono recently, it's somewhat likely related to Epstein-Barr virus. It's so hard, man. If you drink diuretics and they make you pee excessively and you feel weaker after, that's more than likely adrenal hormone insufficiency. These are just anecdotal. What you really should do is go get everything tested. You got to get B's tested. You have to have vitamin D tested. You've got to have aldosterone, cortisol, DHEA tested. You have to have all the thyroid hormones tested. You have to have testosterone tested if you're a man. I would test liver enzymes, as I would test kidney function, like BUN and all these other things. I would test everything, and that'll give you some sort of basis from which to officially diagnose why you have CFS, and only then can you go towards some sort of solution. That's what I would say. How to identify bad sources for research chemicals? That's a good question, actually, because I think there are a lot of kind of phony sources for research chems out there on the web. I would say the number one thing is finding a research chemical on a medium where you wouldn't ordinarily be able to find it, because it's like illegal or against the policy or the rules for that to happen. And a great example of that would be to find bromantane or something on Amazon. Amazon is not going to be able to, a seller on Amazon is not going to be able to legally or in accordance with their rules sell bromantane. So that'd be my answer there. I mean, you want to look at Nootropics Source and Nootropics Depot. I don't know if either of those have bromantane now. I think Source does. There is another company called Limitless Life Nootropics that has bromantane, and I've gotten bromantane from them before. Take a little caution and heed, because their certificates of analysis have seemed to be a little spotty or fudged or something, and that's just not me talking. It's something I noticed initially, but it's also the moderators of the Nootropic subreddit have identified that too. So kind of just approach with caution, I guess. But otherwise, yeah, just look for places like eBay and Amazon where you just can't, you shouldn't be able to buy research chemicals, and then folks selling research chemicals like bromantane on there, probably not legit. Last question, really good question. Any first generation nootropics biohackers to follow? That is a great question, because it's bringing me back to when I started kind of fussing with this stuff like 12 years ago, and kind of who was prominent, the prominent voices in nootropics experimentation back then. I would say three people: Tim Ferriss, Jonathan Roseland, and Dave Asprey. I mean, those are the three people that have been around for a long, long time talking about nootropics. If you go back and read, I think it's probably in the 4-Hour Workweek, for those of you that know Tim Ferriss and like his stuff, read the 4-Hour Workweek, but kind of read Tim Ferriss's experimentation with nootropics, Huperzine A, and very cholinergic nootropics he experimented with kind of many, many years ago, talking about like a decade ago, maybe even more. But one of the interesting things, two things, was hydrogen. So he experimented a lot with hydrogen. And then either desmopressin or vasopressin, which are essentially antidiuretic hormone facilitators, which also boost memory function. So go read like old Tim Ferriss stuff. But either way, follow Tim Ferriss. He's not really into nootropics anymore. Went keto for a while, which was a mistake, I think. And then, does video, has done like some videos about like chaga and caffeine, kind of, alternatives to regular classical nootropics for energy. Jonathan Roseland has been around for, at least a decade, just talking about nootropics. And so I would go try to find him on various sources on the web. And then, look, Dave Asprey. I think Asprey, look, that dude's a wellspring of information, has a lot of content. I don't agree with everything he says, but a lot I do. It was reading about aniracetam and his experiences with aniracetam as it relates to memory IO that got me initially interested in aniracetam. So, I would go on like bulletproofexecutive.com or bulletproof blog, or go to bulletproof.com and find the blog, and look for Dave Asprey stuff that's like more than 7 or 8 years old. Because then you're going to find a lot of nootropic stuff that's like no one ever talks about anymore, that I think he found some critical distinctions. Also experimented with modafinil for quite some time, probably still takes it. So that's what I would say about that. And then last person would be me. I'm 12 years into this and started talking about it actively on the web probably about 9 years ago. So I don't know, email me. That's my take on that. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. This has been another episode of the Nootropics 20. This will double as, I think, 121 on Nootropics podcast, the Cortex Labs Nootropics podcast. Let me give you some coupon codes for products. Number one, the Cortex Stack, powerful cremate stack. I took it about an hour and a half ago, and it's just like verbal fluency central over here, and I'll be verbally fluent until like 9 p.m. tonight, and it's like 3:30, right? So it just, the stuff works. $31 at the website. Coupon code is 5FIVE, takes it down to $26 a bottle. If you want a bottle for $24, you can do that too. You just have to buy two, and that is the Cortex Double Stack. Look, if you want to call with me so that we can figure out how you're responding to nootropics, which nootropics will suit you best, have me suggest 5 to 7 stacks that you can try, and then work with me via email so that we can modify those stacks to perfection. That's what the Nootropics consulting service does. Get that at livecortex.com. We're running a special on that for those of you that are wanting to do it and just didn't want to spend the $75. Just use the coupon code 50. It'll take it down to 50 right now. Go book it. If you don't want to deal with me at all, perfectly fine. I understand that. And want to learn all of that stuff, but so much more, kind of take your nootropics expertise to the 5 to 10 year mark. Get the Nootropics Masterclass. It's a video course that teaches you how to do that. It's so comprehensive and so information dense, it's almost insane. If you need a coupon code on that, I need you to email me because I can't get that out publicly because it's very powerful. Email me, Ryan@livecortex.com. We'll get you, save you some money. If you're a guy and you've tried everything to race test and nothing works, I feel you, because most guys that try to race test, nothing works except for TRT. I found a protocol of 9 things that I developed on my own self first, and then tested at this point on many, I don't know how many guys, hundreds of men. That does work in raising testosterone. Total test numbers raise with the Viking Testosterone Protocol. VTP, get it at livecortex.com. If you need a discount for that, I will give you a coupon code. Can't do it publicly, just email me, Ryan@livecortex.com. Okay? Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Talk to you next time.